All right, g'day everybody. Welcome to our return to referee protocols for Ballarat basketball. So we had some special guests on. We had Karen Berry-Smith from Basketball Victoria Country, who is our referee development officer. A few of you might know Karen from events and tournaments. We've also got Joel Anderson was on with us, and he is the Ballarat basketball representative that's helping out with the handbook and all of the COVID protocols we're putting in place. So as most of you have probably seen, we have some start dates. So junior season starting the 13th, which is this coming Monday, and the seniors proposed to start on the 20th, which is the following Monday. Obviously, these are pending restrictions. We do hope that they start on time, but we're just pretty much going off what Basketball Victoria and the government are sort of directing down to us. This little bit on the right is a little bit of a spill that Basketball Victoria have put up. That's their updated COVID information, and that basically just states, for your 18 years old and under, we're at Orange 50. So a few weeks ago in the referee meeting, we went through the different levels in the return to play guide that Basketball Victoria have brought out. So Orange 50 being 50 people per court, and then our seniors are still at Orange 20, hopefully pending to go to Orange 50 on the 20th. So just a quick note on some outstanding tasks. So I've been sending lots and lots of nagging emails about all of these, but we've got our mandatory Zoom meeting that we had to attend a few weeks ago. The exam link that I've sent out to everybody needs to be completed. Any updated information I've told you I need, so your duty statements, any My Roster information that needs to be put in, and also registration. So the registration payment has to be paid or you will not be taking the court. The other stuff, thank you to all of those who have done everything, and you'll be given priority in the rostering. If you've still got anything outstanding, please make sure you do it, because those that have finished everything will be given priority over you for the rostering. My roster, so now's the time to start updating availabilities finally. We do have some sort of proposed times for the new season, so 6 p.m. would be our start time. The last time slot would be roughly a 10 p.m. start. Obviously, this is if we fill up all of the numbers and we have all of the teams come back. The 10 o'clock will be our last time slot starting, and then, if we don't get all of the teams come back, then that time will be a bit earlier. So when you're filling this out, just try to make it as flexible as you can. So obviously it would be ideal to be available for the entire night, but just try to make it as flexible as you possibly can to help with the rostering. Bank details, so the BSB and account number down the bottom of your profile has always been asked to be left blank, but now that we're officially going to be going cashless, and we're going to be doing bank transfers for payments. So this needs to be filled in so that we can get that money into your account. So these need to be updated ASAP, and we also need everybody to fill out a hobby income declaration form. So I'll send this out in the coming days, but this needs to be filled out and returned to me ASAP so that you can be put onto our rosters. So pretty much this form is just to help with taxation purposes. So it is a requirement from Basketball Victoria that this is filled out, and it just helps making sure that referees aren't taxed on their payments, and things like the Centrelink side of if people receive those payments, you're not deducted any payment for that. The COVID-19 infection control training. So this is a government initiative, and we strongly recommend that everybody does this. We're not making it mandatory. Some associations have. We've chosen not to. However, we really, really urge everybody to get on and do it. It is a really good resource and tool that's been provided by the government. It's really informative, and it only takes a little bit of time, only 15 to 30 minutes, purely depending on whether you do click into all of the articles and read up on everything, or whether you just do the basic training. So I will send out this link, but there it is in the last dot point. So we really, really recommend that everybody does this, just to get a little bit more of an insight into the COVID situation. All right, so now moving into our safety protocols that we've implemented at the domestic level in Ballarat. So for those of you that don't know, I'll be referring to a BSO a little bit during this PowerPoint. So that stands for the Biosafety Officer. So Basketball Victoria, in their return to sport document, have said that each stadium and each competition needs to provide a biosafety officer, and this person's pretty much just making sure that everybody's compliant and making sure that they're following all of, your things that you've been told, I'm sure many times over the last few weeks and months. So, your social distancing, making sure there's not too many people in one area, looking after all of the sanitisation and hygiene side of things as well. So in Ballarat, the BSO will be our venue supervisors pretty much. So they'll be sort of around if you need any help, and they're all going to be our trained senior staff members on the JobKeeper payments. The layout of the time slots. So we're working off 65-minute time slots. So like I said earlier, first time slot will be roughly that 6 o'clock mark, and the last time slot will be starting at around that 10 p.m. mark. So the breakdown of this 65-minute time slot is a 40-minute game with no clock stoppages, and we'll get to this later on when we talk about some altered timing rules. We've got 1 minute for half time, so this should equal 41 minutes for the game. We have a 20-minute changeover, which pretty much just has the BSOs are going to have everybody pushed out to leave straight after their game. We then have a little bit of cleaning time to completely sanitise the venue, and then the next group can enter within 10 minutes of their start time for the next game. So if all of this goes smoothly, we should have 4 minutes to spare, which isn't a lot of time at all. And this is just to allow for, if we spend a bit of extra time ushering everybody in or out, if we need extra time for cleaning, if we have a game that starts a bit late, which we would hope it doesn't. But yeah, 4 minutes isn't a lot. So we're really on a tight schedule, and we do ask that everybody sticks to it to make sure that we get the ball rolling and we all get out on time. And we make sure that we don't have people banking up out the front waiting for their game. We also have a scattered layout. So as you can see on the right-hand side in those boxes, we've got, instead of breaking it up into courts, we've more got the venues broken up into halls. So hall 1 at BSEC is our courts 1 to 3. Hall 2 is courts 4 to 6 on the other side. And then hall 3 is our back old courts, court 7 and 8. And then at the minor dome, we have court 1 and 2 is hall 1. Then hall 2 is court 3 and 4. And if we have badminton in use, that will be hall 3. So the halls are going to be scattered in their start times. So hall 1, so your courts 1 to 3, say at BSEC, will start at 6 o'clock. Hall 2 might start at 6:20. Then hall 3 will start at 6:40. So they're starting in 20-minute increments. And then when we got back to the start, hall 1 would then start at 7:05. So I've got that 65-minute in between each game, but all of the halls will be running at different times. So you probably saw this in our Zoom meeting a few weeks ago as well. So the one on the left is just the table about what we said earlier about your different levels. So at the moment, our juniors being in orange 50 and our seniors being in orange 20. So if you want to have a look at this, it is available on the Return to Sport document the Basketball Victoria have brought out. And then on the right, we've just got the people per court. So this is basically our orange 50 breakdown for our juniors at the moment. So per court, this would be 10 players per team plus 1 parent or guardian per player or spectator. So pretty much every player that's coming in the front door can bring 1 person with them. But if somebody doesn't bring, anybody with them, then they would just come in as themselves. There's not people randomly walking through the door saying they're a spectator. They have to come in with a player. Then we have us as officials, so 2 of us. We've got 2 scorers, 1 per team. And then we've got the coaching staff. So that's a maximum of 3 people, but mostly at our domestic level, we really only have the coach and maybe a team manager. So this should not exceed the 3. We shouldn't have any problems with this. So all up, if we were to have all of these people, we should have 50 per court. So it is a lot of people, we'll still have quite a number of people on court, but we can't exceed that, that's all. This is just a few photos of how we've got the venue laid out at the moment. So on the right, on the left, we have our referee safe zones. That sign is a little bit dodgy. Sorry, they will be printed and look a lot nicer. It was just for the sake of the photo. So in each of the safe zones, there will only be, so at BSEC, in hall 1 where we've got 3 courts, there will only be 6 seats available. And then, at the minor dome in maybe hall 1, because there's only the 2 courts, there will only be 4 seats available. So this just makes sure we've got the minimal amount of people in each space at one time. In the middle photo, this is just a photo of the doors. So obviously the tables up the middle that you can see in all the other photos is just separating those entering to those leaving so that we don't have as much cross-contamination. So you'd come in pretty much the normal doors. So come in the well, in this photo, the right-hand side door, and then you leave via the left-hand side door. And then down the wall on the right, you can see all the tables up the middle, and then on the bottom right, you can see this would be as you're leaving, so you would leave and keep left, and you'd stay on the left-hand side of all of the tables. All right, so leaving home. So we want to make sure that we're showering before and after our refereeing night. So shower before you come in, and then once you get home, we recommend that you shower as well, just to do a full clean. Come to the stadium already in your uniform, so we don't want people getting changed here. We want to make sure you're already coming in ready to go and you're not having to get changed and leave clothes that may possibly be contaminated around. Pack essentials in a clearly marked bag, so limit bringing in as much as you can. I know a few people do come straight from school sometimes, especially on Friday night. So if you can arrange to leave your school bag with mum or dad, or get somebody to take it home for you, that would be good. We only really want the limited personal belongings. So maybe, at most your keys, phone and wallet. Also, we strongly recommend everybody bring a drink bottle that's full. There won't be any drink fountains available. They will all be closed off. And we also, for the first few weeks, won't have a canteen open at either venue. So really important that you bring your own water, because there won't be any available at the stadium. Hand sanitizer, this is obviously going to be on every bench, and it'll also be everywhere through the venue, but we do suggest that referees bring their own if they wish, just to have a little spare bottle with them. And then the extra whistle, again, this is optional. This is just if anybody wishes to bring an extra in case, you drop your whistle on the ground and you've got that risk of contamination. So you've just got that extra clean one just in case. Arrival at the stadium. So we want to make sure that we're on court and we're here 10 minutes before the first game. So usually we'd say in our handbook that you have to be here a minimum of 10 minutes before. However, with the new COVID stuff, you're only allowed into the stadium 10 minutes before the first game at most. So this is going to make it a little bit tricky, seeing as though we're all used to getting here early. But if you can get here right on that 10-minute mark, then you can stay in the stadium for the rest of the night. So everybody else in the stadium, all of our players, spectators, they'll all be ushered out completely out of the stadium, out the front doors at the end of every time slot. But referees can stay in the stadium and you can remain in that safe zone during our changeover of games. So once you get here, just making sure that we try to get here at that 10-minute mark. So if we do have any people that haven't rocked up, we have a little bit of time that we can make sure we call around and either find replacements or get the referee in. Be prepared to give personal details. This isn't really necessary in Ballarat. This is more for our contact tracing stuff. But because we have the rosters that we can refer back to, it's not a problem. We have your details on file. So if we do happen to have the outbreak, we do have a way of contacting you, and we know which court you've been on for the whole night just off the rosters. Parents are allowed to come in with juniors. So this isn't part of the 50 just because of child protection matters. So parents are more than welcome to come in. However, we do ask that you give a minimum of 24 hours notice to me, just so that we know that you're coming in and where you're going to be, so that we can also trace you. And like it says there, one parent per rostered referee allowed. So they will be allowed in, just give that notice. When they do come in, you'll be the parent for every time slot they're here. They will be required to fill out the contact tracing sheet that the teams do. So referees don't need to, but all players and all spectators and other people will have to fill out which court and where they've been at every time slot. Safe zones, so the place for our belongings and to be in breaks. So in these safe zones, like we saw in the picture before, there will be one chair per person. This chair is for your belongings and to sit during your breaks. So we do ask that you don't switch seats. So once you pick your seat at the start of the night, try to just sit on that one and try not to chop and change to which seat you're sitting on every break. Pre-game. So we want to wash our hands between all of our breaks in time slots thoroughly in the bathrooms. When we get to the bench, we want to sanitize the score bench and the laptop, as well as the buttons for the scoreboard. 2 balls will be on the court throughout the night, so they will remain on every score bench in the middle. We don't want these to be moved from court to court. We don't want them to be used by anybody other than the referees and the players. So I know that there's a lot of kids that will come and grab it off the score bench. we want to try and eliminate that. We want to try and make sure that the ball is either on the bench or it's being used for the game. We don't want them to be floating around like they normally do. I think everybody will be pretty good with this, and obviously the BSOs, the venue staff will be monitoring this as well. But just if you're a referee and you do see somebody going to grab the ball, just remind them that it can't be moved and it has to stay there. Like I said before, be on court 10 minutes prior to tip-off. So usually in our handbook, we say 3 minutes before tip-off. However, with all of the contact tracing that we need to do and the tight time slots we're on, we do ask that you're out on court 10 minutes earlier, just to make sure that we get the iPads organised, and also make sure that the spectators' contact tracing sheet is filled out before we start the game. So there is that 20-minute break. So even once you finish the game, you do get that 10 minutes rest period in the safe zone, in the referee's safe zone. So, which is really nice. We never usually get the break during our games. So you've still got 10 minutes to sort of relax before you've got to go back out onto court and start getting ready again. During the game, so we've got some timing rule alterations just for the COVID stuff to try and make the games flow a little bit more. So timeouts, we're only having one per team per half. It will still be the 30-second duration, but we have the clock running. It will not stop for any of the timeouts. Because of this, we're making the rule that you can't call a timeout in the last 3 minutes of either half, just to make sure that nobody's sort of flaunting the rule and, you know, it's 30 seconds after the game, so they call a timeout to finish it if they're winning. So can't be in the last 3 minutes. If somebody does call a timeout at 3 minutes and 15 seconds, they can have a 15-second timeout, but the second that we get to the 3-minute mark, they have to come back out onto court, so their timeout will be cut short. Subs, again, none in the last minute of each half, just to stop from that tactical sub with a few seconds to go if you're up. Halftime, as I said earlier, is 1 minute, but obviously 1 minute is not long. So you can either put it on the clock if you can get to it quick enough, or we just ask that you do all of your duties that you need to. So, you know, wiping down anything, sanitize what you need to, and then, you know, making sure the iPad and the scorers are all good, and then get straight back out onto court. We don't want to be spending too long talking or chit-chatting at halftime. Again, the clock does not stop for the entire game, so not for any timeouts, not for any type of, if there's a referee timeout, if there's an injury, if there's problems with the iPad, before our normal last minute of the second half, our clock is not stopping at all. So this may be a little bit frustrating for some teams, but we've just got to remind them this is the sacrifice we have to make if we want to get out back onto court. We are on really tight schedules, and we're making sure that that we're running on time, so we don't have people hanging around and that potential cross-contamination, you know, out the front while they're waiting for their game, because the one before was run overtime. So we want to make sure that our game's running as fluently as possible. So we can't stop the clock, unfortunately. For the A-grade competitions on a Monday night, we're not using the shot clock. It was really difficult to try and work out how to get scorers 1.5 metres apart when there was 3 of them. So just for now, we've taken the shot clock out. So just only having the 2 scorers sitting there. If there are any problems or concerns during the game, if you're a little bit worried, you know, if a player's running down the court coughing and sneezing, if you think there's a venue issue, if players are repeatedly high-fiving each other and you've told them to stop and they won't, you can stop the game, go and get the BSO, and then you can discuss the problem with them and we can try and work something out. Works hand in hand, so if the BSO sees a problem, they might come over to you as the referees and just ask for the game to be stopped while they resolve the problem. So they are readily available there for you. So if you have any problems or concerns or anything, please speak to them about it, because they're going to be around everywhere. Sanitising all breaks during the game. So if we have any timeouts or at halftime or whatever, we want to be using the sanitizer, and we want to do our hands for your own safety, and we also want to be doing the ball just to give it a bit of a wipe over as well. Obviously, during the game, we can do this just to help out, but then at the end of every time slot, when we have the changeover, the BSOs will be doing a full clean of everything. So they'll be doing the main clean, but we just want to do our bit and just help out as much as we can as well. Limit handling of the ball. So we haven't opted to say you can't touch the ball at all. It's each to their own, and it's up to every individual and their own discretion. However, we do ask that court captains or the coaches be spoken to at the start of the game. So we've made this mandatory just so that they know what's going on during the game. So all you have to do is go up to them and just say, you know, we're going to be touching the ball for the whole game, so you can pass it to us, or on the opposite side, you can say, we won't be touching the ball. If you have any out of courts, we'll give you a thumbs up when you're ready to pass it in. So please just wait for us to give you the signal. It's as easy as that. And that way everybody will understand and they'll be really good about it. Clubs and all of the teams have been told this will happen. So you've just got to let them know what you're planning on doing throughout the game. Touching the lanyard and not the whistle, and practicing not touching your face. So obviously this is just making sure that if there is any problems with the ball or anything, we're just wanting to not put any of our whistle or anything towards our face too much. So when it says touch the lanyard and not the whistle, we want to pick up the whistle. I know it's really hard, but maybe by the lanyard or the little ring that connects the whistle to the lanyard. We don't want to be necessarily touching the whistle that's going into our mouth. Blow the whistle away from others. Again, this is really difficult to do, especially when you're making such split-second decisions and you're blowing the whistle almost instantly. But if we keep our sort of social distancing and you stand in your normal positions, you'll probably find you're not too close to many players anyways. We also want to make sure we're not blowing the whistle where the ball is dead. So, for example, at the end of our playing time, just let the siren do the work for you. And in timeouts, if we're calling people back in from timeouts, instead of blowing our whistle, we can just go over to the teams and just verbally tell them that it's ready to come in. And there we've also got short, sharp whistles and no long, hard blows. Injured player. So normally if we have an injured player who requires an ambulance, if it's especially in the first half of the game, we'll hang around and see how long it's going to take for the ambulance to come. However, because we can't have people standing around, we've decided that if an ambulance is required, the game will immediately be called off. So if this is in the first half of the game, it will be a draw. And if it's in the second half of the game, then the score will stand as is. If we do have an injured player, keep your distance, and a lot of the time you'll have players congregating around to make sure their teammate is okay. We want to try and minimise this, so keep 1 or 2 people there just to help out, but we don't want all 5 or 10 people on the court going over to help, because it's just an unnecessary amount of people all crowding up together. So if you do get an injured player fall over, try to stop all the congregation, and we want to go tell the BSO and they can handle the injury. We have no rule changes or modified rules. So a few people might have heard about, different thing for 3 free throws, or there might not have been a jump ball at the start of the game. We haven't opted for this. There is a lot of changes already, as you've seen from the slides earlier, and we've still got more things to talk about. So we've got a lot of stuff to remember already. So we wanted to try and, where possible, keep everything as normal as we can, just to try and allow for a bit more smooth running of games and that type of thing. Obviously practicing social distancing, and if assistance is needed with the scorers, we either want to try and talk them through it from a distance, or if we need to touch the iPad, we want to wipe down the equipment and then fix it up while the scorers have stepped backwards. So just trying to make sure we haven't got that cross-contamination. So we're either wiping down the equipment that they've touched, or we're talking to them from that 1.5 metres away. The clubs have been told that because referees can't really assist anymore, they do need to make sure they're really supplying that competent scorer. However, obviously, if there's a problem, we are going to try to help them. We're not going to say, no, we just can't help you at all. So I'm just taking these measures just in case it does come up. And finally, during the game, sweat. So if we have the situations where there is excessive sweat, not much in juniors, but more in the senior comps, if we do have a player that falls to the ground and the sweat's made the floor really slippery, so we need a towel, and we usually grab the towel to wipe it up. We're not going to be doing that. We're going to be treating this like a blood rule. So everybody off the court to their benches and just stand clear while the BSO is cleaning up the area. So rather than using a towel, they'll be using the antibacterial wipes just to wipe the floor clean. So this wouldn't be our job. If we're treating it like a blood rule, remember, don't touch it as the referee. The BSO will do this for you. And again, we don't stop the clock. Post-game, washing hands thoroughly. So this is in the bathroom, making sure we're going into the toilets and doing our 40-second wash of our hands. And then we want to stay in the safe zone. So this doesn't mean that we can be walking around talking to, if we're on court 1, we can't go out and talk to our friends on court 7 and 8. We have to stay in our safe zone and in our hall 1 area. We can't be leaving and talking to everybody else in the other halls. You, by all means, you can talk to everybody on your courts 1 to 3 if you're in hall 1. So you'll have what's that, 5 other people to talk to. So we're not going to isolate you completely, but we just ask that you don't talk to anybody else or go into anybody else's area in any of the other halls. And again, there's wipe down scoring equipment, which is optional. So obviously the BSO is going to be doing the complete clean of these once we all push everybody out of the stadium at the end. But if you want to do your bit and just wiping down the equipment before you leave, then that's also acceptable as well. When we're leaving the venue, again, we're going to sanitize our hands, and then we want to sign off our pay. We're still in the process of trying to set up the online payments. So we're not sure at the moment what we're going to be doing, whether we're going to have an online like accept or reject, decline payment if it's wrong, or if we'll have a physical piece of paper you have to sign off just to make sure that the amount is right. But we'll work something out and we'll let you guys know when this is all organised. And finally, we ask that you all wipe down the chair that you used in the safe zone. So the BSO will wipe all of this down and do a complete clean at the end of the night. But if you can just, again, do your part and wipe down the chair, that would be really helpful as well. Additional admin, so having one emergency referee on call per night. So if you're feeling unwell or you're showing symptoms or anything, we do ask that you withdraw from the roster just so you're not bringing in the germs and everything of the potential virus or even just your cold into the stadium. Nobody's going to be penalised for withdrawing, regardless on whether it's 1 hour or 24 hours before your game. Obviously, I do ask that more notice is better. So if you wake up feeling a little bit crook, let me know straight away. You know, it would be a lot easier than if you were telling me an hour before your game's supposed to start. And so, yeah, so having the one emergency referee on call, we would like to try and organise this just for somebody who's ready to come in if we need, if somebody pulls off, whether it's before their game or during the night. Referees will stay on the same court all night, so you won't be chopping and changing courts, and you will be probably staying with the same partner all night. So please look after each other and don't bicker in the first game, because if you've got 3 or 4 games in a row, you will be stuck with that same person. So let's all get along for a few weeks, and I don't think we'll have a problem, but yeah, we're just going to keep everybody on the same courts to try and, again, stop that cross-contamination. So this includes playing, so you can still play, obviously, but we are going to try and keep it to playing either side of refereeing commitments. So you can either play and then ref the rest of the night, or you can ref all night and then play last. But we want to really try to minimise that playing right in the middle of the refereeing commitments. Referee coaches and shadowing green shirts are allowed because they're required for the running of the game. So yes, we can still have our shadowing green shirts running around with us. We don't really have many at the moment, and we did have a level O course that was ready to be run just before COVID ended. So we're a bit lucky in that we don't have too many green shirts that are still shadowing. Most of them are solo. But they still are allowed, and obviously just using your common sense if you've got one running with you or you are one, just try to keep the 1.5 metres, but obviously this can be a little bit difficult when you're trying to train somebody and talk to them throughout the game. So just use common sense here, and we're happy for you guys to still go about your normal training. And referee coaches, as much as we would love to have them, obviously with no income, it's hard to pay them. So for the first few weeks at least, we won't be using them, but we do hope to get them out on court as soon as we can again. Just a few expectations. So just being respectful and treating this as a fresh start. You know, everybody's had the same amount of time off. What's it been now? 3 months or something. So, you know, we're all missing it a lot, as much as we probably didn't think that we would. We've all really missed being out on court, both as players, referees, and even, you know, your coaches, or just being a spectator. So everybody's really itching to come back. So this is a perfect opportunity to come back and be nice and refreshed and respectful, and try to start building that rapport between our referees and our players again. Being consistent and not targeting. You know, if you did end up having a bit of a blue with somebody and you are a grudge holder, I'm sure 3 months is enough time to get over it. I know that I'm far done with all of my grudges I was holding, if any. So yeah, just making sure that we're coming out and being nice and fresh and trying to start building that rapport with players again. Communication is more important now than ever. So this is in regards to rules, so using our preventative talk that we always want to, as well as our change in mechanics. So being more verbal with our timeouts and subs, end of play, to try and avoid our unnecessary whistles, and things such as the timing rules. If somebody has forgotten that the clock doesn't stop and they're yelling at you for the clock to stop, just remember that this is just, you know, the norm. This is what we're used to. So it's a little bit of change that we've all got to get used to now. So people may not mean it. They're just trying to adapt to our new changes, to our rules and everything else. Presentation, so uniforms, attitude and effort. Later. Uniforms, attitude and effort. So wearing our uniforms, yes, it's cold, but you can wear your thermals and your skins and things under your referee uniform to keep it warm. Making sure that, you know, we're not wearing our hoodies and we're not wearing tracksuit pants. We're still wearing our black slacks, and we're still wearing, we can wear black skin tight clothing underneath just to keep warm. And then our attitude and effort, just coming in with a smile. It is a big change for everybody. We're all in the same boats. Remember, players are getting used to the different rules and not being able to hang around at the end of the game. So they're going to find it quite difficult. Coaches are going to find it difficult in the training environments, and we're going to find it difficult as referees. The BSOs, please respect them and utilise them. I know that you guys are all really good with that anyways, but they're there and they're trained to help and support you guys. So utilise them. If you're not quite sure, they're all really approachable and they're all the senior staff, so they're there to help you. There's going to be posters around, so everything that we've spoken about here, I'm going to put it into a poster, and they'll all be posted all over the referee rooms and Facebook and out on the team benches. So you don't have to try and remember all of this yourself. There will be some little prompts around as well. And then obviously all of your, you know, where to walk, when to wash your hands, where to wash your hands, pretty much how to breathe. Everything that we've been told in the last few weeks will be on a poster. So you definitely won't need to remember everything. Lead by example and stay professional and safe. So lead by example, you know, everybody's going to be all eyes on us, especially being in our stripes and being sort of, we like to think we're the center of attention. So stay professional and safe, because you are being watched, and you are, everybody is watching you, and they're going to come to you probably sometimes for advice. So, you know, just washing your hands between every break, and that may remind players to do the same thing. Everything that we've put in place, as much as it is a lot, it's for your best interest, and to put procedures in place to protect you. So we want everybody back out on court, and we want it to be done in a safe manner. So everything that we've done is to make sure that the safety of you guys is the priority, and that we can get you all out as soon as possible back onto the court. Again, any concerns, speak with the biosafety officers, or if you think of anything that you have a query about after this, then please send me an email and we can discuss. It seems like a lot of change, but it isn't really. So just remembering there is posters everywhere, and it's only a little change that gets us back out on court. And yeah, this is what all needs to be done. So if you're feeling unwell, please don't referee, and notify me with as much notice as possible. And then just again, another small reminder about the outstanding tasks. Please get these done. Many hands make light work. So the more people we have come back, then the less time slots, you know, we'll have to be hanging around for. We can spread out the workload. Sorry. Just stop this recording.